This segment, I'd like to describe who in the organization performs these four main process roles. And we'll start with the example of the largest and most complicated of organizations and corporations that exist. These would be entities with hundreds of thousands of people in them, many billions of dollars in sales and budget. And in those cases, the CEO will have a group of corporate executives that report to he or she. That's sort of the office of the CEO, if you will. And they will be responsible for the process vision and process culture. Reporting to this, corporate execs are a layer of senior executives, so typically VPs, SVPs. And this group is responsible for the behaviors and the activities that we described as process governance. This level is the large group of mid-level managers, directors, for example, that and senior managers that are responsible for the activities and behaviors around scale-up. Frontline leaders, the first level of management in the organization, as well as frontline staff, and what I call single contributors. Single contributors I put in there to help with the idea that a lot of times if you put in frontline staff, the connotation is of sort of the factory worker only, as opposed to, well, you could also have PhD engineers or researchers. They are single contributors, they're very senior, but they don't sometimes manage people. And so that's what I mean by single contributors. These two groups are responsible for the execution and improvement of the process. In corporations that are not quite as large as the one that I just described, you might not have this distinction required between corporate execs and execs. So you will just simply have the CEO as well as the senior executives. And so in that case, this group will be responsible for both process governance and process vision and culture. And then mid-level leaders scale up and so forth. And then finally, in very small businesses and medium-sized businesses, you might not have quite the distinction even of mid-level managers. There'll be very few leaders above the front line. And so you'll simply have a group of leaders. There will, of course, still be a single person in charge, but that group of leaders will be responsible for all these things. And then you'll still have some frontline leaders, supervisors or managers, and then your staff. But in each case, we still have these four process roles being performed. Obviously, as we get to a smaller organization, these change in nature, they're less complicated, but they're still important to do even in a simplified way. So that's a very quick overview of how to map these process roles to a organizational hierarchy.